Mr. Thompson's haunting. When I think back to my time in high school, one teacher stands out more than any other, Mr. David Thompson. He wasn't the most popular teacher nor the friendliest, but he was respected. He had a way of making literature come alive, of making words feel like magic, as if he were pulling stories straight from the ether. He was my English teacher in my final 2 years, and though I wasn't the best student, I always looked forward to his classes. He had a way of keeping us engaged, especially when he told ghost stories. But one story was different from the others, because it wasn't just a story, it was something that had happened to him. A rainy afternoon. It was a dark and rainy Thursday in October, and our class had no interest in discussing Shakespeare's Macbeth. The air was thick with boredom. Mr. Thompson must have sensed it because, instead of pushing through the lesson, he shut the textbook with a decisive thud. "I can see none of you are in the mood for literature," he said, leaning back in his chair. "So let me tell you something different. A real story. Something that happened to me. That got our attention." He studied us carefully before speaking again. His usual commanding presence was softer now, almost hesitant, as if what he was about to say carried weight. "I was about your age," he began, "when I first encountered something unexplainable. It happened during a school trip to an old manor house called Ravenwood Hall." The name sent a shiver down my spine. Ravenwood Hall was infamous in our town, a decaying estate on the outskirts, abandoned for decades. People whispered that it was haunted, that strange lights could be seen flickering in its windows at night, that those who trespassed sometimes never returned. "I know what you're thinking," Mr. Thompson continued. "Just another ghost story, right?" That's what I thought too, until I saw it for myself. The trip to Ravenwood Hall. Mr. Thompson told us how, when he was 14, his school arranged a week-long trip to Ravenwood Hall for a history retreat. It was an old crumbling place full of character, he said. High ceilings, long corridors, and a library bigger than this classroom. The kind of place that made you feel small. At night, the wind would howl through the broken windows, making the whole house moan like it was alive. He smirked. And of course, being teenagers, we were drawn to the ghost stories. The teachers warned us not to sneak out at night, but we didn't listen. Curiosity is a dangerous thing. His eyes darkened. There was a legend about Ravenwood Hall, he continued, that it was once home to a man named Edward Cartwright, a wealthy merchant who lived there in the 1800s. One stormy night, he vanished. No body was ever found, no explanation given. Some say he was murdered, buried somewhere in the walls. Others claim he went mad and disappeared into the forest. But the locals all agreed on one thing: his spirit never left the house. The dare. On the third night of the trip, young David Thompson and his friends decided to test the legend for themselves. "We waited until after lights out," he said, then snuck down the corridors, avoiding the creaky floorboards. There were 5 of us: Mark, Jenny, Tom, Rachel, and me. We had a single flashlight between us. We made our way to the east wing, where the teachers had explicitly told us not to go. That part of the house had been locked up for years, left to decay. The moment we stepped inside, the air changed. It was colder there, and the silence felt heavier, like we had stepped into another world. They explored the empty rooms, their laughter turning to whispers. Dust covered everything, and the furniture had been draped with white sheets, giving the space an eerie, ghostly feel. And then they found the mirror. The mirror. It was enormous, Mr. Thompson said. At least 8 feet tall, covered with a heavy, dust-laden cloth. Mark, of course, couldn't resist. He yanked the cloth down, and underneath was an antique mirror, ornate, with a gold frame covered in strange, twisting patterns. His voice dropped lower. That's when things got wrong. One of his friends, Rachel, noticed something off about the reflection. We were standing in front of it, 5 of us, but in the mirror, there were 6. He let the words hang in the air, watching our reactions. A few students shifted uncomfortably. At first we thought it was just a trick of the light. But then the extra figure moved. It was a man, tall, with dark, hollow eyes. He stood slightly behind us, watching. And then he smiled. A cold chill ran through me. We turned around, Mr. Thompson said. But there was nothing there. Just the empty room. Yet when we looked back at the mirror, the man was still there. Closer this time. They ran, bolted from the room, down the hall, tripping over themselves in sheer terror. But as we left, Mr. Thompson said, I made the mistake of looking back. His voice was almost a whisper now. The mirror was still uncovered. And the last thing I saw was the man stepping out of it. The aftermath. The next morning, they told the teacher what had happened. Instead of laughing it off, the teacher looked deeply troubled. He took us aside and made us swear never to speak of it again, Mr. Thompson said. He told us that Ravenwood Hall had been abandoned for a reason, that things lingered there, things that should not be disturbed. Their school cut the trip short. Ravenwood Hall was officially closed a few years later, left to rot. I never went back, Mr. Thompson finished. And I don't intend to. The present. The bell rang, jolting us back to reality. We gathered our things, some laughing nervously, others stealing glances at the reflective windows, as if expecting to see something watching. As I left the classroom, I turned back for one last look at Mr. Thompson. He was staring at the window, and in the glass, just for a second, I thought I saw a shadow behind him, watching, waiting,